This is the Rebel Call channel. Welcome to today's show. If this feels like it's something out of a movie, well, it is something out of a movie, and everything you see going on in politics is directly out of a movie as well, because it's all fake. And the people pretending to run for president or run for senator or run for governor are all pre-selected, and they're all playing roles on television. And remember, none of this stuff would be going on, this civil unrest, if they didn't pick the perfect characters and put the perfect characters in place. One incompetent Joe Biden and one over-the-top, aggressive, bully-like character that Donald Trump plays. And of course, anybody out there who is caught up in the psyop will defend Donald Trump to the end and not realize that their vote doesn't actually count, and these actors that are put in place are to keep the civilians under control. Because if they didn't have somebody in place, all the stuff the government has been doing, the civilians would not put up with. The civilians would have risen up against it. But Donald Trump keeps the civilians under check. And listen to this. Trump floated a plan to end crime, which is basically the Purge. And if you don't know the plot for the Purge, I'll tell you in a few minutes. But Donald Trump gave a speech, and trending all over America was the Purge for the last 24 hours. Because Donald Trump was literally calling on a police state. He was calling on a totalitarian, state-controlled police force that would keep the citizens in check. And in the movie The Purge, of course, the plot is the organization establishes a new totalitarian government and a police state. They call on a purge. The purge lasts, I believe, 24 hours or from sundown to sunrise in the films. But listen to this speech from Donald Trump. I mean, this is politics. These are political figures who are calling on violence to end crime. Meanwhile, what the civilians don't understand, they're all sitting there and they're going, yes, let's teach these criminals a lesson. They don't realize that it's the government themselves who is funding the criminals, who are allowing the criminals to run amok. It's literally right out of The Dark Knight Rises when Bane breaks the prisoners out of the cells and they call on an uprising, so to speak. The government is funding what you see going on. And they continue to prevent civilians from doing something about it because they keep you trapped in the left-right paradigm. Here is Donald Trump's speech where he says, look, one rough hour, and he means real rough. It will end the crime that's running rampant, which of course is being caused by the same two political parties that are working together to do it. Here's Trump.
If you had one really violent day, like a guy like Mike Kelly, put him in charge, Congressman Kelly, put him in charge for one day. Mike, would you say, he's right here, he's a great congressman. Would you say, Mike, that if you were in charge, you would say, oh, please, don't touch them, don't touch them. Let them rob your store. All these stores go out of business, right? They don't pay rent. The city doesn't have money. It's a chain of events that's so bad. One rough hour, and I mean real rough, the word will get out and it will end immediately. End immediately. You know, it'll end immediately.
So, I mean, that's a scene out of a movie. You've never heard a president say something like that before, or somebody running for office say something like that before. But that's the state of affairs we live in now. These actors are literally playing roles. They sound like professional wrestlers. They're calling on violence. Then you have the other side who is allowing violence to occur, right? All the stuff we saw with the BLM and the government turning a blind eye, even though Trump was the president during the majority of those events, right? I mean, this is as strategic as it gets, and it's directly out of the movie The Purge. Here is a clip for those of you that don't know how unbelievable and in our faces this predictive programming is. The Purge election year. Here is the trailer, and of course, this is conveniently an election year, and it's a selection year, and Donald Trump is looking to be put back in power, and of course, he knows whether or not he's gonna be because it's all predetermined, and this is the plot to the movie.
This July, have your voice be heard.
I purged.
I purged.
I purged because it's my civic duty.
I purge because staying in is un-American.
This is your emergency broadcast system. Commencement of the annual Purge.
The soul of our country is at stake.
At the siren, all crime, including murder, will be legal.
Senator, let's begin lockdown.
Emergency services will be suspended. Your government thanks you for your participation.
My God. How did I get to this?
We have one goal: survival.
I purged to keep my country great.
So, of course, Purge election year, which came out in 2016 when Donald Trump was put into power, you could hear the themes that developed over the years, even in that film. Make our country great, right? Make our country great. I mean, it's so scripted. It's absolutely incredible. And people out there like to remain asleep and tell themselves that, well, the movie, the people who wrote it, even though it came out in 2016 and Trump was put in power in 2016, which usually means the movie was written in 2013, 2014, 2015, in that range, and it has nothing but the MAGA underlying themes to it. So now we come to the year 2024, and you could see after the Democrats have destroyed America deliberately, and of course, the Democrats don't have to take the blame. All the politicians should take the blame because they're all working together, but that theme of making America great, and this is exactly the mindset, get our country back, that they've programmed into conservatives and the MAGA movement. So think about this with what he's saying about calling on violence, calling of the police to run amok for an hour, for a day, with extreme violence. And then remember to yourself this and see how they're siding the conservatives with Freemasonry. This is going to be a common theme moving forward. But look at this, right? Remember, I covered this a few weeks ago / month ago or so, where Donald Trump was endorsed by the Fraternal Order of Police. And for those of you that don't know, the Fraternal Order of Police has 377,000 members.
Well, like you mentioned tonight, Trump is leaving Charlotte with the full endorsement of the National Fraternal Order of Police. And again, Trump has made several visits in North Carolina during his campaign. He was actually just in Charlotte just a few months ago. So tonight, a big endorsement he is leaving with. And just like you mentioned, he left here with his remarks just a few moments ago. Now, Trump spoke to the National Board of the FOP, the world's largest organization of law enforcement officers, for about an hour. Today, the organization's president announced they are officially endorsing Trump for president. Its leadership thanking former President Trump for his true commitment in advancing policing. Now, Trump took to the stage and said he is honored by the endorsement and spoke about always backing the blue.
This is a big endorsement for me. This is like 373,077. Boy, that's a lot of protection. That's big protection, and we appreciate it very much.
So if Donald Trump was to call on that, and people out there, of course, will hear what he says and they'll say, oh, he's just joking around. Oh, he doesn't really mean it. And then the Democrats obviously pull their hair out when they hear stuff like that. But look at it from a neutral perspective. Donald Trump has the police behind him. The police have been nothing but what? Victimized strategically by Democrats over the last 5-6 years or so. They've been called racist. They've been talking about all these movements of defunding the police. So they've strategically sided the police with conservatives. What most people don't know is that the Fraternal Order of Police is a secret society. So they're doing what they're told. The fact that they're getting slandered out in the open is being done deliberately because remember, the Freemasons do what's best for the cause. It doesn't matter to them if they're going to be told, well, we're going to disband the police, we're going to get AI governance. These people are all going to be taken care of, all these members of the police force. They're just going to have different roles, different titles. They're not just going to be a cop wearing a badge walking the streets. They'll still be employed and they'll still have an authority over civilians. So Donald Trump, let's just say that he's the choice, that he's the one that they're putting back in power. A lot of people do believe that. I could see it going either way. I was leaning more towards Democrats. But with a lot of this talk that I'm hearing from Donald Trump, I could see it going with Trump and a lot of chaos ensuing with him. All of a sudden, him and Putin are getting strategically, positioned against one another now, which is interesting. Trump's meeting with Zelensky. I mean, then you start thinking to yourself, well, if they put him back in and now all of a sudden him and Putin are against each other, he could lead us to World War III with Putin, right? Lots of things in play, all obviously scripted. But if Trump's put back in, right, and then you have the police force, all the conservatives will love this. They would love a day of violence against criminals. They would love this entire notion of, well, let's go after anybody out there, well, how do you determine, right, who's a criminal and who isn't? I mean, you're literally just saying to yourself, what, that conservatives should go after Democrats, right? Because how do you identify a criminal? What are you going to go in this? You're going to find people, their personal records, dox them and go to their house? How are you going to find them? What are you going to just look around at night for people breaking into stores or breaking into people's homes and do something? I mean, there's no real thought process behind it. Just people out there cheering yes and loving what Trump's saying, right? So Trump is calling on pretty much a temporary police state, which should wake up conservatives, right? Because we've all heard about a police state. We've all heard about things like martial law. These are not good things. These are not things we want. But as Democrats have made America so crazy by design, conservatives now want these things because they don't realize that they've strategically been positioned with them, and they don't care about the Fraternal Order of Police being Freemasons. They don't believe it because they don't understand it, right? Now, I've told you before, I've shown you how most of the police forces, the state police, even have the Freemason logo on their badges, okay? Donald Trump being endorsed by them. Remember, the Fraternal Order of Police, Freemasons, is an international fraternal organization that was funded in 1915 by two Freemasons in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. The organization has grown to become one of the world's largest and most respected professional organizations for law enforcement officers. The Fraternal Order of Police Freemasons provide its members with a wide variety of benefits, services, and programs to support their professional careers and personal lives. They are an active voice in advocating for the rights and interests of law enforcement officers across the country. The FOP Freemasons also promote a strong bond between members of law enforcement through its unique fraternal brotherhood, which is built upon trust, loyalty, and mutual respect. The Fraternal Order of Police Freemasons is a fraternal organization made up of active and retired police officers who are also members of the Masonic Lodge. Okay, remember all the stuff I've taught about the Freemasonic Lodge, who they worship, Lucifer, okay? All the stuff in the lodge is their oath to one another, not their oath to American civilians. Their oath is to one another. So all of this tells us that they're all working together. This is the connection that people always miss with how is everybody in cahoots? You're telling me a police officer's deliberately doing this to a black man and he's going to lose his job and go to jail and all this stuff? Well, first, when you realize that they get told what to do, this is part of their fraternal oath that they take. They're not going to jail. They're not getting arrested. They're getting shipped off somewhere. No one's going to remember what they look like 2 years from now. And those people are walking the streets with new names and nobody will remember the story. And they just keep creating the news like that, manufacturing these news stories by having police officers go and do these acts, okay? So the Freemasons and the police are really one and the same. And they go on to talk about how these are the members of the Masonic Lodge. It was formed to increase the efficiency of law enforcement and to uphold the honor and dignity of the profession. The order works closely with local, state, and federal law enforcement agencies to ensure that its members are treated fairly and given due consideration. The Fraternal Order of Police Freemasons seeks to improve public safety through education, service, advocacy, and public awareness campaigns. The fact that all the police have a connection to Freemasonry, because it doesn't mean every single officer, but what it means is the sheriffs, the people at the top are all connected to Freemasonry. Then they pass the orders down. And of course, the majority of police officers are a part of this, and they are a part of the Brotherhood. That's a fact. Doesn't mean everyone, because people out there claim at least that not everyone is. Somebody, people message me and they're like, I was a pop and I wasn't a part of it. Well, nowadays, that's the way that it goes. So it shows you a direct connection to the police, and then how through this fraternal order, which is a secret society, they're able to pass orders through that. That's the channel that they control to carry out psyops and false flags that we always all scream about. How are the police in on? How is this person on? That's how. And don't forget that they openly admit the Fraternal Order of Police Freemasons have their own set of rituals, oaths, initiation ceremonies, and pledges to uphold justice and protect citizens' rights. Those oaths and those rituals, those Masonic rituals, are to one another. And of course, the rituals themselves are acted out for Lucifer. And then they claim that the rituals are designed to instill loyalty among members. And that's true. It does instill loyalty among members to one another. This right here is treason in itself, right? And for those of you that think that's a stretch about the police, all you have to do is look at the logo, right? Signs and symbols rule the world. Look at the Fraternal Order of Police, their logo. They have the all-seeing eye logo, right in there. The all-seeing eye of Providence, the eye of Lucifer, right on their logo. The Masonic handshake, the black and white Masonic checkerboard floor. So they show you out in the open. And of course, the star itself being a pentagram. Now, they tell you that the eye, because they try to give you a meaning, like the meaning of the Fraternal Order of Police star, what does it stand for? The open eye is the eye of vigilance, ever looking for danger and protecting all those under its care while they sleep or while awake. I mean, it's a joke. The clasp hands denote friendship. Oh, okay. How about treason? That's what the handshake, that's what it is. It denotes treason. So Donald Trump is aligned with the Fraternal Police Order. And him coming out talking about a purge. I mean, this is, people hear this now and they're like, oh, what's the big deal? But this is a big deal. When a former president, a person running for president, is calling on a plan to end crime, which would basically be the purge. Okay? His plan to end crime isn't, hey, we're going to make sure, and again, I understand that people out there are going to defend it and say he's just saying that because he's just riling up his crowd, or the people who support him will say he'll never do that. Then when he does something like that and calls on a police state, they'll still support it because they're so frustrated with what the Democrats have done that they be on board with it. And they don't realize they're being worked on both sides for this. They're all creating the crime, problem, reaction, solution. Here comes Trump bringing in a police state. Of course, all of this chaos eventually leads to artificial intelligence governance. That's the goal. The police will still be working with that hand in hand. But these movies that come out desensitize people to things like this. The Purge movies, one after the other, after the other, after the other. First time the first Purge came out, people were like, whoa, this is crazy. Now it's just like, oh, okay, another cool Purge movie. I can't wait to go see it, the sheep will say. Meanwhile, on the flip side, you could see how a Purge could actually somehow be manufactured in today's society because of all the stuff that they've deliberately done. And that was what the goal was all along. While they're doing these things to you, they're programming you through these movies to be desensitized. So when the president himself calls on a purge and says, well, the purge will just be against criminals, and everyone goes, yeah, well, that's not a purge because they're going after criminals. Well, how do you determine who the criminal is? Is he wearing a shirt that says criminal? What? Oh, by their skin color? What are you going to say? Oh, the white, they're going to be able to pit it to be white versus black or Hispanic? Probably, because guess what? Last I checked, criminals weren't running around in their prison suits out in the streets so you could identify them, right? And last I checked, they may be committing crimes in the open when they stage it for the news, but it's pretty hard to, you're not going to be able to walk down the streets and just see people breaking into somebody else's home. So how would they do this exactly? They would call on something like this, and then the civilians, of course, would be involved in it. And Trump himself would probably tell the MAGA audience to get involved with the Fraternal Police Order. And all these Christian conservatives don't even realize what the fraternal orders are, or the Freemasons are. They think that they believe in God. That's how dumbed down they are. And now they've been aligned with the two things that are actually going against humanity, right? Think about how crazy it is. The Christians, the conservatives, are aligned with the Freemasons because they're aligned with the police. This was strategically done. And they're aligned with the synagogue of Satan, right? So Trump floating the idea to end crime with the purge. How interesting. Get me off this ride. I thank everybody for being here. Hope you're all doing well. God bless you and your families as always.